Fellow Ghanaians, 30 years ago today, on 28th April 1992, we Ghanaians took one of the most important decisions of our history. We went to the polls to decide in a referendum the nature of the future governance of our nation, whether to continue to live under military rule or to live under democratic rule. Indeed, the days, months, years, and decades prior to that day had seen the nation sample almost every form of governance known to man. We began our life at independence with multi-party democracy, which transitioned in the First Republic into one-party rule. 3 out of the 5 coups d'etats in our history resulted in the overthrow of 3 civilian governments. 2 of the coups removed military governments, and there was strong resistance to the idea of the formation of a so-called union government in Ghana. Predictably, we experienced from these events a weakening of the sense of self-confidence and progress of the Ghanaian, which was evidenced by the fact that components of the Human Development Index, i.e. life expectancy rates, access to education, and per capita income indicators at the time were not commensurate with our vast potential. Several attempts to take Ghana down the path of multi-party democracy were met in some quarters with stiff opposition and cynical responses. Those who would rather have authoritarian rule foisted on the citizenry claimed Ghana was underdeveloped and we needed to get things done in a hurry. They claimed that democracy was cumbersome and would divide Ghanaians along tribal lines. However, the will was widespread and virtually unanimous to have the decade-long ban on party political activities, imposed in 1981, lifted, and a return to multi-party democracy established. The Ghanaian people wanted to live in conditions of freedom, where there was respect for individual liberties, human rights, and the principles of democratic accountability. The Provisional National Defense Council, PNDC, in power since the 31st December 1981 coup, set up the National Consultative Assembly in May 1991 and tasked the body to prepare a draft constitution for the country. 3 months down the line, a draft constitution was produced, and on 28 April 1992, Ghanaians went to the polls in the referendum to make a decision for which we, the current and future generations, are the beneficiaries. 3,408,119 Ghanaians voted yes in the referendum, representing 92.59% of the vote, to return our nation to democratic rule, as opposed to 272,855 voting no, representing a mere 7.41%. The Constitution, overwhelmingly approved in the referendum, set up a liberal democratic state founded on the separation of powers, with exclusive power in the judiciary to superintend and enforce the Constitution and protect the fundamental human rights of the citizenry. The coming into effect of the 1992 Constitution was promulgated with immense popular backing, and on 7th January 1993, His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings, chairman of the erstwhile PNDC, was sworn into office as the first president of the Fourth Republic. We have since then experienced the longest uninterrupted period of stable constitutional governance in our history, banishing the specter of instability that had disfigured much of our nation's early existence. And the benefits are showing. We have, over the last 30 years, witnessed sustained growth in every facet of national life. There have been considerable improvements in the Human Development Index. Simply put, democracy has been good for us. Today, democracy, equality of opportunity, and respect for human rights and the rule of law, ideals which have stood the test of time in most of the world, have now found firm anchor in our body politic. We've had 5 presidents in the history of the Fourth Republic, with peaceful transfers of power from a governing to an opposition party on 3 separate occasions. Even when there was disagreement with the outcome of an election, it was the Supreme Court on 2 occasions, rather than the streets, that validated its result. We are arguably the most stable democracy in West Africa. On this day, the 30th anniversary of the referendum, whose votes ushered in the Fourth Republic, I urge all of us to renew trust in our democracy and bear in mind at all times the oft-cited statement that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. I say so because there are some who, for their own parochial and selfish interests, would want to see a return to the dark days of authoritarian rule, simply because, with no respect for the Ghanaian people, they are either unwilling to subject themselves or their vision to the open scrutiny of the Ghanaian people, or because they know they will be rejected by the Ghanaian people and thus seek a shortcut to office and power. Let us strengthen our resolve to resist such persons for our common good. Despite all the gains we have made in the Fourth Republic, we must acknowledge that we have not reached the potential we should have. The biggest challenge we face continues to be eradicating poverty. We still have challenges in the performance of our public services. We face threats, traditional and contemporary, to our nation's security and social stability in the form of chieftaincy conflicts, land disputes, ethnic conflicts, cybersecurity issues, youth unemployment, economic hardships, and corruption in our public life. In recent times, we've been witnessing significant difficulties in the management of the national economy, largely as a result of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the global economy, which has been exacerbated by the effects of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But the basic commitment to resolving these challenges within the framework of due process and democratic institutions must remain unshaken. And I'm confident that, God willing, we will overcome these challenges. Fellow Ghanaians, one primary goal of the Constitution was to decentralize the structure of governance in Ghana so that government would be brought closer to the people. One fundamental barrier to the realization of this goal has to do with the ramifications of Article 55, Clause 3 of the Constitution, which currently bars political parties from involvement in district assembly elections and local government. The attempt I made in 2019 to repeal this provision and allow for the participation of political parties in local government was aborted because of the lack of a broad national consensus when the opposition NDC signaled its inability to back the repeal. It was and continues to be my view that the repeal or modification of an entrenched clause of the Constitution should attract widespread support to make it acceptable and healthy for the body politic. We should further bear in mind the strong attachment of the Ghanaian people to multi-party democratic elections. On the average, the turnout for national elections in the Fourth Republic has been 72%, one of the highest in the world, whilst the turnout for the allegedly non-partisan local government elections has always hovered around 30%. I've said it before, and I'll repeat it. I will continue to work for an extensive national consensus on this issue. And should such a consensus be attained for the repeal of Article 55, Clause 3 of the Constitution, and an agreement reached for political parties to participate in and sponsor candidates for election to district assemblies, at any point during my remaining tenure of office as President of the Republic, the matter will be brought back again to the front burner of our public discourse for the necessary action. I'm hoping that after completing the necessary consultations, I will shortly be in a position to announce a way forward on this important matter. Fellow Ghanaians, 30 years since the referendum of 28 April 1992 has taught us that there are no shortcuts for the progress and prosperity of our country. Only hard work, creativity, innovation, a sense of enterprise, and unity in the nation can produce the accelerated economic development that we all yearn for and deserve. On this anniversary occasion, I'm proud to say that I believe strongly in the values and principles of the Constitution that emerged from the referendum, and in the indigenous democratic heritage of Ghana. And I'm calling on all Ghanaians also to assert vigorously this same belief. We should never forget, though, that the Constitution is a living document. And so whenever circumstances require it, we should be prepared to make the necessary amendments to it to reflect the needs of contemporary and future times. May God continue to bless the Constitution of the Fourth Republic and us all. And may God bless our homeland Ghana and make her great and strong. I thank you for your attention.